Hi there. Thanks for joining me on Rethink Real Estate. I'm on a mission to make real estate work for everyone. Real estate can help to solve climate change, can house people affordably, can create beautiful streetscapes, unify neighborhoods, and enliven cities. So I'm on a journey to find the most creative thinkers and doers out there. I'm not the only one who wants to rethink real estate. You can learn more about me at evepicker.com, or you can find me at smallchange.co, a real estate crowdfunding platform with impact real estate investment opportunities open for investment right now. And if you want to support this podcast, join me at patreon.com/rethink real estate, where there are special opportunities for my friends and followers. Today, I'm talking with Andy Williams, the founder of Recon Realty, amongst other things. Andy was a Marine determined to better his life through real estate. In a fairly short period of time, he built a substantial portfolio of homes, a real estate development business focused on larger projects, and a program that seeks to turn veterans into entrepreneurs, just like Andy. While Recon Realty is focused on making a profit, Andy's heart is in the impact. The question for him is, how can he use real estate to turn transitioning veterans into entrepreneurs so that they too can turn a profit? Patriots need to start buying up America, he says. I'm going to learn a lot from Andy, and so might you. So listen in. If you'd like to join me in my quest to rethink real estate, there are two simple things you can do. Share this podcast or go to patreon.com/rethink real estate to learn about special opportunities for my friends and followers, and subscribe if you can. Hello, Andy. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you've gone from being a U.S. Marine to a real estate developer to impact entrepreneur in a pretty short period of time. And I wanted to start by asking you how you got involved in real estate.
Real estate really was a transition from, private security contracting to civilian life. I was trying to build a bridge back home. So I bought my first rental property in 2006. And it was a safe investment, an easy investment. It made sense. And I just kept doing it for about 6 years, buying rental properties in my hometown with the intent to build enough cash flow to replace my income that I was making overseas.
And where is your hometown?
It's in Central Texas.
Okay.
So I'm a fifth generation Texan. So
Okay.
after I came back from the Marines, I made Texas my home.
What did it take to purchase your first home? I mean, that's a pretty big leap from Marine to buying a house.
Yeah, actually, my first house was only a $50,000 rental property. So it took me, I think I put 20% down, so it was about $8,000. And after I got out of the Marines, I'd actually saved some money while I was in, and then I was making, very good pay working with the State Department on the private security contract. So I basically reinvest my monthly salary into rental properties for about 6 years.
Wow. So, and did you need to make these properties tenant ready? Like, I suppose I'm wondering what skills you had to learn in that transition and how you identified the right sort of properties to buy and, what your plan was. What was your big strategy?
I didn't have one at that time. I grew up in this community that was segregated. There was good houses, bad houses. There was people that were rich and there's people that was poor. There was really not a middle class. And so when I started making money, I wanted to buy properties for the underserved, and provide sustainable housing. So my dad was a concrete foreman when I was growing up, and around that time he was aging out, wasn't able to do the work that he had in his trade, and he was kind of out of work. So he was kind of my eyes on the ground, and I would buy properties, and he would be my project manager, and he would make them ready, and then we would lease them out. It was very mom and pop.
That's fabulous. Yeah. Were your first houses a success, or did you have any failures, any moments where you regretted what you were doing?
No, because I was very conservative, and I've always been an investor for the long haul. So I think I just sold last year a property that was in my portfolio for 15 years. I think some of the fifth house I ever bought was a duplex. It's still in my portfolio. I've always looked at real estate as a way to kind of build wealth, but also solve a problem. And I think that's what attracted me to the affordable housing market, because I grew up understanding that real estate and safe housing, quality housing was really a privilege that was afforded to few. And
Yes.
when I was in a position to, do well, I wanted to do good. And so it became a safe return. It wasn't until I started trying to build an operation around it was their risk really being assessed. Because I was buying really cheap properties in a market that I felt that I understood. I actually felt that it was misaligned, and then I wanted to play on the long haul. And being well traveled as a veteran, and seeing kind of the simplicity of being able to buy a home, fix it up and rent it out, and looked at the rate and the rents and the cash flow, it just made sense. But when you started it wasn't until 2012 when I came back from Iraq. At that point, I had about 50 rentals, and I wanted to kind of start a business. And so I started looking at trying to integrate a construction component, and I started flipping houses. And that's when I started realizing that there was a different dynamic. And most of that had to do with the characters. When I started investing in the city, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I ran into some bad actors, and not everyone did what they said, and you had to kind of have protocols in place. And so I spent a better part of 3 years building some infrastructure, but I was able to kind of make some mistakes and build through those challenges, because I always held a decent sized rental portfolio that, in my mind, was kind of it was a baseline. It was a cushion in case you ever ran into some problems. You could dump a rental, and if you needed to leverage, you had cash flow coming from your rental portfolio. So you never really was too overexposed.
So how big is that portfolio? I mean, what do you think the baseline should be for people who are listening?
It really depends on your goal. I mean, mine was, about a $5 million portfolio, and, I was, I think I got it up to about 100 houses. I've scaled it down over the last 3 years, because I hit that threshold where I didn't want to deal in that housing stock. And then also I didn't want to reinvest in the communities where I had properties. I ran into some infrastructure challenges. My dad passed away in 2014. My mom started managing the properties, and that original portfolio really was just kind of a mom and pop operation, and meant to be mom and pop. And once it kind of served its purpose, I divested it, and then I moved my operation to the major markets, and I started building teams. And the projects I'm doing now, they're more, leveraged on teams. I'm good at certain things. Certain things I'm not as strong at or passionate about. And so I leveraged my military background to kind of build teams and into medium to large size projects that basically what I've learned over the last 5 years is that good projects are really executed with good teams, and a solid project is really effective if you can assemble the right team around it. And so I focus on team building around projects at this point. And entrepreneurially, I have a focus on, capacity building and training veterans to do what I've already done. And that's more where, I'm headed in the future. We're actually rebuilding our portfolio now, but we're doing build to rent. And we're playing in infill areas, and we're focused on distressed communities that have been redlined or segregated or socially deprived of capital because of its demographic, and we're trying to get ahead of gentrification and build capacity,
Right.
and then trying to hold some properties there as we rehab and flip.
But what a great story! Those small properties really helped you build a much bigger career, and that's pretty valuable, right?
Yeah, I think the sense is you make your mistakes and you learn, but I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the last 3 years, maybe call it 5, is that I got started early, and I was lucky because I was advised to invest for the long haul, and I wasn't looking for a quick buck. And once I figured out something that made sense and it made money, I just kept doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like in the military, in the special forces community, you don't really have a magic style or systems. You just kind of focus on mastering the basics. And that's what I did. So when I look at, buying, single family homes to do, renovate to rent, it's very simple. You do it once, you figure out what your cost is. You take a wood frame home, 1950s, you got to figure out what it's going to be to get that renovated and get it turned, what it's going to rent for, what your leverage is going to be. And you just rinse and repeat. Once you figure out how to get in there, buy it right, you get it gutted, you put it back together, and you throw a tenant in there. It really should be, an operation and management issue. And you just scale up to what your capacity is. And, there's a lot of liquidity in the market now too. And so, the finance vehicles that are present today weren't present 10, 15 years ago. So it's a lot easier to really execute and scale, an operation, and you just got to find the right markets and the right product.
Right.
So you can build that down.
But I've also read that you want to use real estate to turn transitioning vets into entrepreneurs. And so, to help people like you do the same thing in some way. And how do you do that?
A couple of years ago, I got to a point where, I had some national exposure, and I was able to, create a conversation with the right people. So I've always thought that and believed in the idea that America runs on capitalism, and veterans were not necessarily being positioned to build sustainable businesses. We were kind of being, reintegrated into corporate America. And, a lot of veterans just aren't cut out, nor do they need to just go right to work. They need to figure out a passion that they can pour their energy into, and it can be project based.
My son is a vet, so I witnessed that firsthand. It takes a while to transition. Yeah.
Yeah. So funny story is there's a Marine that got me into real estate. He was a World War II Bronze Star recipient. He fought at the Battle of Iwo Jima, and I still have some of the properties that he sold to me. But when I was in Iraq, I was on leave, and I seen this old frail man pulling some carpet out of his duplex, and I stopped and I asked him, what he was doing, and if it was his property, and if he'd be willing to sell it, and gave me his number. When I got back overseas. I called him. We talked for about a month and a half, and he ended up selling me the property. I didn't know it until he sold me actually about 30 properties, which helped me scale. But as I got to know him, he came back from World War II, and he started a fencing company, and he was moving houses from Fort Stockton down to Central Texas. And he kind of, had a retirement built on, free and clear properties. And so I kind of followed his blueprint. But when I seen myself, fast forward 2012, 2013, 2014, and then I get some national exposure, I just was frustrated that my peers, my friends, my fellow veterans weren't positioned right. And I just always felt America needed to do better, but I just didn't think they understood. So I went to the Department of Labor and I sat down with them and I worked with them to create a programmatic that, I believe was a transition platform, and we tested it and we brought it to market, and we're now in the process of expanding that mission. Rehab Warriors does exactly that. We teach veterans to be rehabbers, home builders, and developers. The big difference is we're not telling them to come work for me, or they're not vertically integrated and we're a construction company. We actually don't have them picking up tools and hammers, and we don't teach them trades to work for D.R. Horton or Lennar. We actually give them the principles. We show them how to model financial projects, and we give them access to capital, and we have them go access properties in their market. And we've had a lot of success, and that's more my passion. I could flip 1,000 homes in the next 10 years. I could, build a large rental portfolio, but that's not success for me. Success is if I can train 10,000 veterans to do what I've already done and find peace at home. Because I think the war fighter really does deserve to own part of the country by which it served. And the only way I think that we're going to be able to do that, truthfully, is to buy it at a discount, create the value, and rebuild, the infrastructure. And that's why we have a huge emphasis on affordable housing, distress zones. We teach these veterans, and we redirect their energies and their efforts into their communities, and they're finding properties, and they're having a lot of success. And naturally, they're building teams, but more importantly, they're local to their community, and they're solving problems in their local community, and they're finding their passion. And America's better for it. I'm better for it, and America's getting a new breed of developer that I believe it deserves.
So tell me about some of these success stories. Like, it sounds like you're sort of starting out on this journey. How many vets have you trained? How many have been successful? What does it look like so far?
So we have a 100% success rate, and we probably supported about 100 veterans so far through the training. We have about 50 on the platform. We're going to roll out. We're still early stage because I focused on making sure that we had 100% success, and then tooling it down to where the veterans wanted to be. But we had a military veteran, perfect case study, female veteran. Started a minority-owned business right inside the community that she was discharged from. And, she got into, our community back in June 2020. We helped source and identify the right property by August, matched her up with a local banker. She was able to access, very competitive financing. We try not to play in the hard money space. We don't play in the, private money space. We really have a position. We want proper capital to execute these projects. And so access to capital was something I emphasized for the last, year and a half, 2 years. But she just finished her project, took her over 90 days, bought a wood frame home, took it apart, put it together, and she ran into some contractor issues, which is most of
pretty normal.
Where we help navigate. Yeah, and that's where we really emphasize the support. Is anyone can show you how to find a property, anyone can show you how to model it, anyone can show you where the money is. What we do is we build a community where we help walk you through it, because we want you to be successful. Because if you get through one property, you're going to continue on the journey. So we help navigate the contractor issues, and she ended up completing a beautiful rehab and set on the market. She got a full price offer, and she closed, and she made money. She made a lot of money.
Good for her.
It wasn't the money though that was motivating. It was the fact that she got through it and she was able to, less than 1 mile from the gate that she left and discharged, she was able to reintegrate successfully. And
Yeah.
she chose our program over any of the programs that the military had. And so we have a waiting list. So, there's a lot of veterans that are on the waiting list. We're building out the infrastructure. But right now, as a founder, I'm kind of putting the culture in place, and
Yeah.
the market's really, it's really hot right now. And I don't want to send a bunch of veterans into the communities right now to go buy, because really you shouldn't be flipping houses in markets that are kind of peaking. And most of the market shifted to new construction. We do teach home building. And then as for myself, I shifted to development. And I think, we're being disciplined, right? And we're waiting for the dip, and then we're going to assemble and deploy. But in the meantime, we're putting the training wheels on, and we're putting the people through the program so that they can execute. And more importantly, we're building the culture where we want to put the community first, yield second, and we want to serve.
Right. So, just generally, what are some of the challenges you've been confronted with? Because you've come a long way from your roots. There must have been financing challenges and, neighborhood complaints, and I don't know what else, aside from the contractor challenges, which are always there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, let's take it down, because, my smallest project we just put on the market, $150,000 rehab that we threw out. We bought it for 60, put 70 into it. And, it's on the market. It's a little affordable house that we could have tore down and built, but we wanted to connect with the community. But in that same neighborhood, we got 13 acres under contract where we're going to throw up a tax credit investment, low-income housing, tax credit, affordable housing, 3-story, 100-unit garden-style apartment. And really, it's the challenges we've navigated, so far has been just understanding, why we're there and what we're doing. I don't really see real estate as complex as some people. I mean, the financing is very intricate to the project, and I've been very, focused on going downstream. There's a lot of private capital out there. There's a lot of institutions. There's crowdfunding platforms, but my focus has been really, I want the federal allocation. There's trillions of dollars spent on affordable housing. So, I'm going to go get the money that, is best suited and effective at modeling out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the state board of affordable housing. And so I have some initiatives, and I'm pushing at the state level here in Texas, and we're executing beautifully the model, and we're navigating the challenges. But what's happened with the approach for the overall mission is that I'm allowing organizations to align that really see the big picture and want to help me move the needle forward. Mm-hmm. And that's how we're creating progress, because we're solving a real problem.
Mm-hmm. So one final question: What's next for you? It doesn't sound like you stay in one place too long.
Yeah, I think what's next is just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm really focused on rehab warriors. We just got done redeveloping and rezoning a large tract that we're gonna have a 7-year commitment to the city, where we're gonna end up building 500 single-family homes.
Oh, wow!
Over 100 build-to-rent single-family homes and townhomes, and we got a multifamily affordable housing project, a senior family affordable housing project, and some retail. So that was kind of my case study. We picked up some land, applied to an RP from HUD and my development team. And I'm a small part of the development team, but big part of the mission. We were able to work with the city and this small community that didn't really have the right developers supporting them, and we came in and we put together this master plan. And mm-hmm. The byproduct of it is we're going to continue to serve the communities. And my goal is to just close the loop between the size of projects I'm doing and and the single family homes that I still have a passion for, capacity building for the veterans. Because I really believe that the veterans have, in my mind, the ability to not just reintegrate, but safely land inside America's housing market and solve a real critical problem, because we have an affordable housing crisis across the country. We have a lack of skilled trades and a skilled trades gap, but everyone sees that as the problem, right? But it's the opportunity for me, because I see the problem is I got 250,000 war fighters coming home every year, and they're trying to figure out what's next. And I'm just going to give them a very focused target that just go and do this, and you'll find not just peace of mind, but purpose. And if you do it right, you'll execute, and you'll end up economically mobile, which is the end state. Because if we can, help our war fighters come back home and have economic mobility, then America will be better off. And so that's my mission, to improve America's housing stock by, reintegrating veterans, but doing it in a way where we're winning, and we're ushering them into a conscious capitalist community.
It's an honorable goal and a really big one, and I really hope you're incredibly successful at it. And I thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, and you're doing some great work. And I think your platform is also an option, and I think I love what you're doing, because you're democratizing access to great projects with great operators, and
yeah,
it's needed. I think everyone wants to be a part of the change, and I think that this is just one area. My goal is just to capacity build operators, so they see this is a focus. So it was a pleasure, and keep doing the good work.
Yeah. No, Andy, I want to say, I think, I've always been horrified at how vets have been treated when they leave the military, and having seen the sort of support that they get inside before they leave, it doesn't seem to be the right sort of support. So I think what you're doing is fantastic. Just keep going.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and you as well. Thank you again for having me.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
That was Andy Williams. He's a self-made real estate mogul with a heart. He's passing on what he's learned to other vets just like him, so that they too can participate in the wealth this country has to offer. It doesn't matter how much money you have, it's whether you're solving a problem, Andy says. I want to show the world that entrepreneurs like me can exist. You can find out more about this episode on the show notes page at evepicker.com, or you can find other episodes you might have missed. Or you can show your support at patreon.com/rethink real estate, where you can learn about special opportunities for my friends and followers. A special thanks to David Allardyce for his excellent editing of this podcast and original music. And thanks to you for spending your time with me today. We'll talk again soon, but for now, this is Eve Picker signing off to go make some change.